Hey, what's up guys, I'm Praetorian and welcome back to Stellaris, as we're going to be starting a new series with the Biogenesis expansion that just released today for $24.99. It's accompanied by the massive 4.0 patch, which has made significant changes to the base game, in particular to the population system, jobs, buildings, and districts. Two things to note before we get started. First, the format for this series will be a bit different from previous Stellaris campaigns that I've done. It'll be more condensed with more cuts so that we can make greater progress in each video. And secondly, I'm using a small mod that I created. Most of its changes are to ethics and species traits. Ethics now have a lot more effects, including negative modifiers, so they're a bit more impactful. Some of the government types have had their modifiers adjusted as well, but the most significant changes are to species traits. Some cost less points, others cost more, and their modifiers have been adjusted. They also now have a much greater effect on a pop's ethics, and ethics can block certain traits from being picked. In addition, you'll find traits are slightly more influenced by species class. I've added 6 new traits as well, 3 positive and 3 negative, and there's been a few changes to government policies too. But overall, it's not a very large mod, just make some changes to fit my personal taste. The 2 main features of the Biogenesis expansion are a new genetic ascension path. They've added more depth to it, similar to what they did for the cybernetic and synthetic ascension paths in previous DLCs. And then the second main feature is they added a new ship set, 2 new ship sets, and these are quite a bit different from other ship sets because they're not mechanical. They are biological ships, or meat ships, as Paradox so lovingly likes to call them. Just show you guys what those look like. They're both quite different, so should be able to fit whatever flavor empire you're trying to build. So that's the first one, and then we have the second one here. Again, looks a lot different from that other one, but yeah, they're pretty cool and do things you'd expect biological ships to do. You know, they use food, or mostly food, instead of alloys, and they also grow. So when we looked at these first couple types of ships here, you'll see that they say that they're juveniles, so they will grow in size and overall power levels. It was my intention to show off both of those major features in this expansion. However, unfortunately, we won't be able to do that because of the origin that we're selecting. So there's 3 new origins. We'll take a look at those in a minute here. But the one that I want to do for this campaign, the Starlit Citadel, you see it's red here, and that's because you cannot use it with the biological ship set. Which makes sense when you read it, because those are your main enemies. I assume that Paradox has a reason that they locked you from using the biological ship set with this origin. Maybe it's important for their story. Speaking of their story, let's go ahead and read this here so you know what's going on with this particular origin. A mysterious portal looms at the edge of this civilization's home system, a gateway from which hostile entities emerge in relentless waves. These invasions are as unpredictable as they are inevitable, forcing the people to rely on their greatest technological triumph, the Deep Space Citadel. So with this origin, we're going to be starting with a megastructure in our home system. We also have some disadvantages because this thing is really powerful. I jumped in and took a look at it, and it's like 5,000 something power just from the start, which, you know, if you played Stellaris before, that's very powerful in the beginning of the game, and considering that's just the first stage, I assume you can make it significantly more powerful. It also has some disadvantages as well, with the primary one being that you have this strange portal shooting out enemy ships regularly that you'll have to deal with. You have some penalties on your homeworld as well. You got these 2 blockers. This one actually reduces habitability and happiness, so you'll certainly want to get rid of that. So you're gonna have to spend 400 energy credits, and then you also have these 2 invasion sites, which will cost you energy credits and minerals to get rid of as well. So have some penalties in that form, but you also get this benefit here, the Citadel uplink. It provides FTL inhibitors, and I believe it adds some jobs which will impact the Deep Space Citadel. So we'll have to take a look at that once we get into the game. There are 2 other origins that come with this expansion, Evolutionary Predators. I'll just hover over this so you guys can read it. And then the Wilderness one, which I know this one's been kind of popular with the YouTubers that have had early access to the game. So I'm sure there's several series on YouTube already where people are playing with that Wilderness origin. I really wanted to do this one here. Seems interesting. I haven't actually tried it yet. Again, I just kind of hopped in the game and looked at some stuff, but I don't really know what happens with the story, so it's going to be a surprise for me. So we'll be checking out this particular origin with the Crimson Startarchy. So I'll show you guys how these guys are set up. We're using this avian species. This is one of the new ones. Biogenesis adds several new species portraits, and these are all different species classes. So this is the avian one. Obviously got some reptiles here. So you can get whatever species class you want, because these are special. We'll take a look at how they're special in a minute. I did want to show that there are also some new mammal portraits, which are not part of that biogenesis mechanic, where much like the cybernetic ones, where you can slowly see these guys change as they evolve, they get more cybernetics on them. They did something similar with the biogenesis portraits. So we're playing as these birds here. So when we take a look at our ruler, you can see that they change throughout their evolutionary stages. So this is only possible with those biogenesis species portraits. So I guess we'll start with our ruler here since we're already on the screen. His name is Crimson Feather. He unified our planet against the alien invaders, hence why they named their empire after him, the Crimson Startarchy. The ruler title is Valkara for female or males, which the genders for our species can be male or female. This particular ruler is a male. Already looked at the portrait and the origin, so going to the government and ethics next. We are Authoritarian, Militarist, and Xenophobe. I feel like this fits for an empire that is being invaded by these aliens. Very xenophobic, since you look at all aliens now as a dangerous enemy. It makes sense for us to be militaristic, since, you know, we're having to defend our homeworld. And then Authoritarian, I felt like that it makes sense that they would, you know, turn to more authoritarian government to try and mobilize, you know, best mobilize all their resources to fight this great threat to their existence. And I should note that their government is dominated by an oligarchy. And you'll notice some of these different effects here that come with the mod. So some changes to the empire effects and the ruler ones. I particularly see that with the imperial and dictators. Their rulers are quite a bit more important than with other ones. And then I've already kind of showed this in the video, but the ethics are different as well. So a lot more positive modifiers, but they come with some negatives too. Another change from the mod that you probably already noticed is that we start with 3 civics. So you don't get any additional civics. So normally in the game, you'll get a technology a bit later that'll allow you to select a 3rd civic. That technology, the effects of it have been changed to something else. Instead, you just select your 3 civics at the start of the game. I find that this is better for roleplay. Again, it's just my personal taste. I like that I'm able to select all 3 of them. Helps me really create the species that I want right from the start. Some people might not like it. Remember, it does affect all the AI civilizations as well, so they'll all have 3 civics too, so it's not like an advantage that the player has or anything like that. The 3 civics we'll be starting with are Distinguished Admiralty. So this makes sense again for their more militaristic society that's trying to defend itself from these invaders. The admirals are very important, so giving us some nice military bonuses there. Our other 2 civics are Hyperspace Specialty and Meritocracy. So despite the fact that they're authoritarian and oligarchy, I really like the idea here that they have a meritocracy where advancement in this society is demonstrated through ability and talent. It makes sense to me that given the threat they're facing, that they'd really only care about having the best people in positions of power. You know, they care less about birth or wealth or anything like that. They just want to have, you know, whoever is best able to do the job in those positions. Looking at our species traits here, 3 of these are new ones that were just added in this expansion. And despite them not being part of the mod, I have changed the modifiers to fit with the balance of the rest of the traits in this mod, because again, I made a lot of changes to the species traits. So the egg laying here is going to give us a 25% pop growth speed, but only when the planet has a surplus of local food. What does it say, or minerals here? But yeah, we do have to have the surplus in order to get the bonus to the pop growth speed. We also have the hollow bones, makes sense for the birds. In fact, you'll see many of these are restricted to certain species, so that's something new, where they have a lot more traits that are restricted to certain species classes. So I really like that. It makes your species class matter a bit more. This reduces the job efficiency of workers based on the planet size. So the larger the planet, the worse the penalty you're going to be getting, I guess because of the gravity of the planet. And so this is a pretty significant penalty, hence why it is going to be removing so many of the points here so that we can get a bit more positive points, and one of those is flight. This reduces the damage taken by our armies, which any bonuses to your armies aren't really all that helpful since, in Stellaris, armies aren't that important. But we do get the effect of commander skill level +1, that's nice, and really just made sense for our birds here to have the flight and the egg laying. And then the last one we got is talented. This is going to reduce the upkeep for our leaders and also reduce their negative traits. But yeah, keep in mind that I did change many of the modifiers here for the traits, and you'll also see that there are some new traits in here, both from my mod and from the expansion. Looking at the names and name lists, our species are called the Caravex, and that's the same plural or as an adjective. And again, we're the Crimson Startarchy. The name list we're using is avian 3. Our home planet is Carnethi. The star is Carnastra. It's going to be a random unary 1, and we do live on a continental world, so we'll have the wet climate preference. You can already see the rest of these here with the city and room. There's the advisor voice using the soldier one. Our flag that you can see there. You've seen the ship set already. We're just using the avian one. We've already looked at our ruler Crimson Feather, but his leader class is commander and his starting trait is warlike. Alright, so we've looked at everything and we're ready to get started. So we spawned in, it seems that Carnastra is going to be a yellow sun. I'll go ahead and read this starting intro here. We were not always so vigilant. Carnethi is a world of abundance, and once we were a peaceful and contented people. But all that changed when the portal opened. Without warning, the filthy invaders arrived. They razed our cities, ravaged our lands, and then as swiftly as they had come, they vanished. We dared hope they would never return, but the invasions resumed again and again, each attack more brutal than the last. Now as we prepare to venture into the galaxy, our Skywatchers, which I think that's that job that I told you guys about, that building spawns, we'll have to take a look at that. But our Skywatchers stand ready, high above our world. The formidable deep space citadel awaits, a steadfast bulwark against the filthy invaders and any others who seek our destruction. I wonder if they're called filthy invaders because we chose the xenophobic ethic. We'd have to try this origin with different ethics. So this is another one of the new things here, is that you have these focuses, and by completing these you get the points in either exploration, conquest, or development. I suppose we'll keep the conquest one up. It just affects what's going to be spawning here. But by completing them and getting points, you'll progress down these trees here, and they don't actually grant you any bonuses. Instead, they just get you these texts that you can then research. So you still have to research the text, but it just makes sure that you'll have those available, which can be really helpful because included in the conquest branch is the destroyers and the cruisers and the battleships. So sometimes you'll be waiting forever to just randomly get those texts because of the way the Stellaris text system works. And so this can ensure that you get those texts if you're completing these particular focuses. So it's not really giving you any bonuses like any modifiers or actually researching those texts for you. It's just letting you get access to them. So it's not like a significant mechanic, but I think it's overall a good one. So here's the wormhole where those aliens are invading from. So it says it's going to periodically shoot out enemies at us, so we'll have to deal with them. And this is the Starlit Citadel. So just from the start, this is incredibly powerful with the 5,249 military power, all those hull points, armor, and shields. You got some strike craft on there already, and they also have a bunch of modifiers. There's one building we could construct here. We'll probably get the target uplink computer. I think that makes the most sense in this particular case. And you can also add the defense platforms as you can with other star bases. So this thing can get incredibly powerful, but I don't know how difficult the fleets that you're going to be facing are going to be. Take a look at our home planet, Carnethi. You're going to see the entire UI here on the planet has changed. Again, it's a new population system, quite a bit different. There's the biological ship remains and invasion sites that we need to remove. Although it seems we don't have the normal ones that you'd have to remove. So that means you also, well, let me take that back. I was going to say you don't get those 100 pops that you usually do. Looks like you'll instead get it from the biological ship remains. So we'll want to get rid of that as soon as we have the energy. We'll also get some unity from removing the invasion sites. So this isn't really a significant penalty of the origin, since it replaces the ones you'd normally have. Of course, this one does have some additional penalties, but you also get unity from removing the invasion sites. Now, you'll definitely notice just how much the population system has changed and the surface here with the way buildings and districts are set up. Most other things are kind of the same. These are similar as well. We start with 6 buildings. So the planetary administration, as you usually do, we have the stronghold, and we have the Citadel uplinks. That's our special one that provides the 200 Skywatcher jobs. So they increase stability, they spawn defensive armies, they increase the naval capacity, and they'll also improve the Deep Space Citadel, starbases, and defense platforms. I think those are only the ones here in the system though. Then we have the Precinct House for reducing crime, and medical centers. That's really nice that we start with that, because that's usually one of the first things I build in this version of the game in order to increase the growth. We don't start with anything in our archives. A few different things we could build there, but we don't have the resources to do so yet. And then we also have the mixed industry. So these two will increase the jobs for every district, or specifically every city district that we construct. So it's an interesting change. I honestly really like this better. I just like the whole system better. I think it's much improved from the previous version of the game, and the big bonus, and this is the reason why they changed it in the first place, is they said that it's much better on the late game performance. And this is what the Starlit Citadel looks like close up. Alright, so I want to go ahead and start by taking a look at our leaders. I often like to rename my leaders, particularly when their leaders are as silly as this. We've got feathers of red here, and of course he has some red feathers, but he's mostly gold. So I guess we'll change him to gold feather. Yeah, we'll go with gold feather. This is not really the best nameless when it comes to characters, but I like the names for some of the other stuff. That's why I selected it. We've got the Plume of Purple character here. He's the Minister of Defense. So he's a defense engineer. He's going to make our defense platforms much better. Let's name him Ironwing. And then our last character here, Claws of Gray. That's actually fine, his claws are actually gray. But let's instead go with Gray Claw. And we'll go with the American spelling of gray. Alright, excellent. So we're going to want to hire an additional character here in a minute as soon as we get the ship built, because I do like to start out by building another science ship. You know what, this is looking like a really good start. We're at the galactic core, and we've got a ton of potential continental worlds. That one's a desert one. It's looking like 3 continental worlds for us to colonize, with the largest one being a 19. This one's only 12, so kind of a smaller planet. But remember, the planet size does affect our pops when it comes to worker production, so that might actually be better for our workers. This is surprising that we have this many locations, considering the fact that I actually turned the habitable planets way down. I changed it to 0.75, so there should be 75% of the habitable planets that you'd have in a normal campaign, but we've got a lot of nearby ones. Generally, you are only set to have 2. It looks like in this campaign we got quite lucky. Let's go and set up our initial research. We're going to get the increased research speed if it does increase the upkeep. We'll also get this unity, and then we'll we'll probably do the mining station output. The worker pot resource output would be helpful too, especially since our workers are not as useful. You know what, we'll do that, since they're already getting a penalty. We also, before we unpause the game here, we need to take a look at our government. So this is our current council, and the agenda that's being worked on, same as always when you first start. And here's our policies. So our diplomatic stance is expansionist, which we're going to leave it on. War philosophy, we'll probably leave that on the unrestricted wars as well. I don't think there's going to be much that we're going to change here initially. Probably the first contact protocol, we'll change that over to cautious. So we won't need to be starting any wars immediately. We'll probably keep our border status closed since we are xenophobic. So I almost always switch over to civilian economy. It just doesn't work being on militarized. It's too difficult to keep your consumer goods up while alloys aren't generally too much of an issue. But as you can see here, we actually do have a bit of an alloy issue. It's much lower than it generally is. So we're just going to switch over to the mixed economy. And hopefully it doesn't cause us too many issues, but we can always fix that on our planets. You can't change trade policy. We will allow robotic workers for now, even though that's not really going to be our focus in this campaign. We'll also allow slavery and purging. And the military focus is one of the policies added in the mod. So you only have access to this if you have one of the militarist ethics. As you can see, the mod does heavily focus on making ethics feel different from each other. We'll probably leave it on the skilled pilots for now. That does increase the ship's energy upkeep. Many of these do have penalties outside of the fundamentals. That's the only one that doesn't have any penalties attached to it. So we could switch to that just to get a nice ship fire rate. But we're going to keep these skilled pilots. It's really nice for the early game, for the expansion, so that you can explore a little bit faster. Speaking of exploring, let's go to our shipyard and get that science ship building. That's going to take a couple months. We've also got some leader traits that we need to select because our commanders start with the ability to get additional leader traits because they start at level 3. And that's because one of the civics we selected, the Admiralty one, that does increase all the commanders by 2 points. For our leader, Crimson Feather, I think we're just going to go with the Warlike 2. And then we also need to get one for Iron Wing. Remember, he already has the Defense Engineer. He's not currently working as a governor. He's just leading our fleet over there. But he is on the council, so any council bonuses would apply. But we don't want him for that one. That's only for governors. I really feel like the Unyielding fits the character we're trying to create here, Iron Wing. So that's what we're going to go after. Doesn't increase his hull points, but also give us that penalty. Well, that's interesting. He gets another one. Not entirely sure why that is, because he's just level 3. I think we have, and this might be from the civics as well, a bonus where he's like effectively 1 level higher. So let's go with the cautious for the ship weapons range and the combat disengagement chance, which then actually will nullify some of the penalty we're getting here. And again, just kind of fits with his more defensive-minded tactics that he makes use of. Alright, so now we can let it play. And we've already completed some tasks here. Find alien life, and that's of course because the aliens are invading us. It's interesting that it's already unlocked, that it does account for the origin that we're playing as, and that they have already met aliens. So our science ship going out there to explore. Now we have a lot of civilians. That's a new job type. So you still have the unemployed up here. Civilians actually give you some bonuses, but the idea here is you don't want to use all these because those are who are going to go to your colonies and get your colonies started. So we certainly don't want to use them all. However, I don't like our alloy situation, so we might want to use some of them to get the alloy foundries. Yeah, we'll probably get that as soon as we have the minerals to do so. Yes, I did forget about our second science ship, so let's go ahead and get another leader hired. Take a look at our different scientist options. So this guy has 2 traits, or 2 positive traits and 1 negative one. They're okay. Really, he's more focused on being a counselor. I think we're going to want to go with this roamer here to get the increased survey speed. In fact, we have 2 roamers. He's a bit younger, so we'll go with him. We don't yet have the Unity, so we need to save up for that. So I guess it doesn't matter that I forgot to get this guy hired. We need 175, so about 2 months, and then we'll have enough here. And I also forgot to get some stuff constructing over here. And this is our first event here, Siege of the Citadel. So we'll want to take a look at that. Let's start with the mining stations to get more minerals to build, those research stations. Our Skywatchers have reported an alarming development. Subtle but unmistakable fluctuations were recently detected within the portal in Carnastra. In the past, similar disturbances have heralded waves of hostile biological vessels. If these readings hold true, we can expect the next assault within a matter of months. The survival of our people may once again depend on the resolve of our defenders. So they start out pretty quick here. So we'll face an invasion soon. We only have 3 ships right now, so not much. But hopefully the first invasion isn't too difficult. We'll have to see, and that, the Starlit Citadel will be able to handle it. Now, it looks like our precursors are going to be, is that the Hyatt? We're going to pronounce it the Hyatt. Correct me if I'm wrong there on what the proper pronunciation of this fake species is. So that's the precursor one we'll get. I don't recall what we got in our last one, but looks like we have just been invaded. So unfortunately we didn't move that science ship out, so now it's evading the hostiles. We were waiting to get the Unity so that we could hire a scientist. And then we have our construction ship, which is also fleeing, but we'll bring them back. So it looks like the assault is not too bad. We're going to slow this down. Yeah, this is going to be easily taken out with how powerful the Citadel is. Yeah, this shouldn't provide too much of a challenge, though it is depleting. What is that, our shields? Looks like we were able to achieve victory. Remains of the enemy. The debris left by the annihilated biological fleet drifts ominously through Carnastra. Though twisted and charred, much of the organic material remains intact, offering a rare opportunity for study. With careful analysis, we may be able to uncover the secrets of their grotesque constructions and perhaps glean some insight into the enigmatic portal from which they emerge. So progress at last. So that'll be a special project that we'll have to use our science ship on. Looks like he will not need to flee, and we can get that leader as well. Remember, we're going to be hiring, let's just specify the scientists. We're going to hire this character here, which we will rename them. We'll get him a trait first. Maybe base the name off of that. Well, he already has the roaming trait, so we'll probably just go with the level 2 for that, since that's what we're looking for, is increased survey speed. And then we'll just name him Roaming Beak. Super original here, just based on his roamer trait. And then we'll want to assign him to the science ship, and then I suppose we'll want him to research that project, those biological ships that we just destroyed. Our council agenda is ready, so let's go and enact that. That's going to increase the citizen happiness up to 10%. That's what the bonus will increase to. So we could start with getting more unity. Could also get that additional council slot. Might be what we get. Though strong on our own would be useful too for the increased pop growth speed. And stability has some nice bonuses as well. Let's go with the unity, guys. So we'll start with that. That's going to get us a 10% bonus until we're able to launch it, in which case it'll become a 40% bonus. So our construction ship, we need to get them working again, doing the mining stations and then the research stations. So this is what we got from analyzing that debris. So some nice extra research bonuses there. And both of our ships are done as well. So we can now get that colonized once we've claimed it. I suppose this is the next one we want to do because 16. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and send our science ship over to that location next. And maybe get this set up so I don't have to take a look at it for a little while. So what we'll do is we'll do this one. Just makes most sense to go around here. And we might do that one next. We'll see where our other science ship is because they actually have a project they need to work on here. So studying the biological ship remains. So we just analyzed the debris. We haven't done that actual project yet. So we'll set our scientist up to take care of that for us. Our scientist, Roaming Beak, has finished analyzing the enemy ship. After painstaking study of the biological wreckage left in Carnastra, our scientists believe they may have the key to understanding the portal that looms at the edge of our system. Deep within the creature's tissue, an organic pattern has been identified, one that seems to resonate with the portal's fluctuations. By reverse engineering this frequency, we should be able to traverse it ourselves. Further research will be necessary, but for the time, the possibility of taking the fight to the enemy is within reach. So we need to research the wormhole stabilization. We get 15% progress there. That'll allow us to traverse wormholes. Alright, so our scientist, he needs to get over here to survey this system. We're almost done surveying this location, but unfortunately, I didn't even think about the fact that this one did not connect to Carnastra. So therefore, we can't actually, well, we could grab it up, but if we did, it would cost us more influence. So it'd be wise to just wait until we get one of these two systems scanned instead, since again, this one doesn't connect. I was just really trying to get that larger continental world first. So Greyclaw, the Minister of State, has just leveled up, so we can get him a new trait. I think we're gonna go with the Eye for Talent. Get that leader experience gain, so everybody can level up a little bit quicker. So again, I can't really do much here with this construction ship yet until one of these two systems is finished being analyzed. I did get something constructing on our home planets. We got the alloy foundries. And we also just got our first tradition, so we're going to have to figure out which tradition tree we want to work on first. A lot of different options since we last played Stellaris. They're always adding new ones. I generally like to go for discovery and expansion first. They're just too useful not to get them early on. And we'll probably get both of them before we finish the first one. We'll start with discovery. So that will get us the anomaly research speed being increased, but most importantly get us that edict, map the stars, and the new agenda to chart the unknown. But yeah, we want that survey speed of 35%. So we'll get that first. And then we'll get the next tradition there before we'll probably get a new tradition tree without actually finishing that one. And hopefully we can keep our unity high. I mean, right now it's pretty low. Our civilization isn't really focused on unity. Let's get that outpost built so we can start expanding. And yeah, we'll want to get this continental world colonized. We'll probably start with this one though, because I don't know how the resources to get both of them. We'll see. I really want to get that one. We've also finished here. So let's go and scan this location next. And then we'll probably have this scientist come back and do these locations over here. So it seems that we have already met some keepers of knowledge. This is one of the fallen empires. And it's our first alien encounter, which technically it's not. We've already known about the existence of aliens for quite some time. Let's go ahead and claim that outpost before we build that, just because I really want to colonize this location first, just because it's larger. We'll colonize them both, but I want to make sure we get that one started up. We also met a pre-FTL civilization. They're in the pre-space age. So right here. So we'll want to make sure we start studying them as soon as we get that system claimed. So again, we'll claim this one first, get that planet colonized, and then we'll come back over to this location, get that built out. So yeah, we'll do that. I was going to get this location colonized. No unique planetary features or rare planetary features. And that is the name we're going to go with. I have a list of names for all of our planets. And remember, I do like to name the star the same thing as the planet, just to make it easy to look for them, with the exception of our home world, our home system. So next we're going to go ahead and claim this location here. But yeah, I'm glad I did focus on getting the larger planet first, because we don't have the alloys to get both right now, especially with us expanding. This planet also has that archaeological site. I was thinking you couldn't colonize a planet when it had an archaeological site. Maybe it's the other way around and you can't do a dig site once you colonized it. I don't know, but we certainly don't want to wait until we finish that. The archaeological sites often take a long time to do, especially when you have, low-level scientists like you do in the start. I generally wait to do the dig sites until we get a bit further into the game. So this is that third continental world that we can colonize. No other resources here. Really not finding many resources in these locations. So we found a bunch of planets we can colonize, but not much when it comes to resources, unfortunately. So I didn't get this location. Are we being attacked again? It seems that we are. Let's take a look at the size of this invasion. So it has gotten larger, guys. It's 757 current strength. And you can get a good look at those biological ships as well, doing their attack. But this 5.2 thousand isn't going to be good enough for long, guys. I mean, we do have the fleet that can go help out. Maybe we want to have them stationed here, but frankly, what we need to do is once we get that other colony set up, we need to build some additional ships, and also just take a look at the ship designer. So we got our first colony. It's going to be set up here, so we have a few different choices of what we want to go with based on our ethics. So this will actually affect the ethics of the new colony, but I think what we're going to base this off of is what goodie we want. Do we want minerals or do we want research? I think obviously you want to go with the research. We're not really producing a lot of research. Yeah, that's pretty low, honestly. Physics is the highest, engineering is next, society is the lowest. So we'll go with the society research and also promote the militarism. I'm fine with that. Okay, we'll get these guys destroyed here. You can see that they are being more and more effective with each one of these attacks. So we're going to have to, we're going to have to either build up our defenses there or just get some additional ships and send them over here so that they can help out. But with each attack, we can research those components, and so that's going to help us, research some of these technologies they have a little bit quicker. We have witnessed a troubling trend in the biological ship attacks. Each wave displays improved coordination, adaptive tactics, and a methodical probing of our defenses. Sensor logs reveal shifts in energy signatures and targeting priorities, evidence of evolving strategies. These creatures, whether through instinct or collective intelligence, are becoming more formidable. If this pattern continues, the next wave will be even harder to repel. So we've already seen that they're getting more powerful with each wave. So we need to deal with that. Here's the combat stats here. Those are the ships we destroyed. They're juveniles, so young organic ships, weavers and maulers. The weavers, I think those are the support ships that boost their own ships and then give penalties to any enemy ships. We'll finish up some construction here. But what matters is we need to go ahead and get the next tradition picked, and we're going to get that increased survey speed so we can survey a bit faster. Sometimes I'd like to get 3 signed ships. Honestly, if we had a bit higher unity, I would. But our unity growth is not great at the moment, so we're going to stick with just the 2 signed ships. And we'll also be ignoring the anomalies for now, because we just really want to continue exploring as rapidly as we can. And we'll also get these mining stations constructed as we go. So once this colony gets set up, many of our population will move there. So the civilians, these unemployed dogs will probably move there as well. But we can go in and get a city district boosted. So that'll get us a lot of new jobs here. So we'll get 1 city district here. So I think it's time to go ahead and start working on building up our fleet a bit larger. And what's really cool is that you can design those deep space citadels, each level of them. So you see what all they have here. And that's probably why they're not doing quite as much damage due to just how many flak batteries they have on this. So we might want to make some adjustments, especially after we do the next battle, because from my understanding, the biological ships, they have less shields and more armor. So it'd make far more sense to have the point defense on these over the flak batteries, which don't do well against armor. Instead, they're mainly for shields. Of course, the other thing to consider with the point defense and the flak batteries is that they're for taking out enemy missiles and the strike craft. Yeah, you can adjust these, and like I said, we probably will want to make an adjustment to this. I don't know if that's worth the, it's already on there. I guess it doesn't matter. But the additional power, it does help. I don't know if it's worth it having it on there once we make our first adjustment. So we're going to go ahead and start with a new Corvette design. Go with the custom, and we're going to go with the Interceptor. And again, we're going to largely base these off of the fact that we're facing biological ships. So with that in mind, we want to get the lasers over the mass drivers. And that's one of the issues with the mall that they created. I think it mainly has mass drivers and I think one nuclear missile. So those are better for shields. I mean, we'll take a look in the next battle, but I could have swore they said biological ships are more likely to have the armor rather than the shields, which makes a lot of sense. So we're gonna go with the 2 small red lasers, and then we'll still get some missiles here. Because we won't only be facing biological ships, so I want to get something to deal with shields. And I could also be wrong. Maybe they actually have decent shield strength. I don't know. So I have to take a look at that once we get into a battle. So these corvettes are going to be named the Talon class. So let's go ahead and save that. And you can compare it to the one that they designed. And the main difference here is that they have the reactor booster, which I just don't see worth it for such a small ship. I don't think it's worth getting it for the slight bonuses you get for having additional power. Now maybe if you can add components that you wouldn't have been able to add, then it might be worth it. But just for the little bonuses you get. Now the reason why the damage is so much higher is because they have those mass drivers. Mass drivers do a bit more damage per second than the other weapon types. But again, I don't think it's good for biological ships. Maybe I'm wrong. We wanted to stay in that because we want to go to the fleet manager. And then we're going to go ahead and change these up, retrofit them over to the Talon class. And it'll be free to upgrade those. And then we're going to want to get a few more. Probably get it up to 10. Now, we're not going to have the ability to get all those now. Because we just don't have enough alloys. The Habitable World Survey, we will go ahead and participate in that, I suppose. Our scientists will be out there scanning anyways. We got our next tradition, so let's go ahead and select the expansion. And we're not going to finish the discovery just yet. I'd like to get some of the bonuses we get here. The colony development speed would be really helpful, but we also want to get the starbase influence cost, since influence is usually the main limiting factor for expanding your territory. And then also we need to start purchasing these alloys. They're just too much of a limit at the moment, and we do have plenty of energy and food to sell. Maybe even sell some of these consumer goods, because we're getting pretty good since I did change the economy up. Again, I feel like it's going to be worth it later on, since consumer goods always become an issue, while alloys are only a problem, at least for me, early in the game. So let's go ahead and buy some additional ones, since we do have a lot of trade here. And that'll allow us to get the next colony set up. And we're going to name this one Telekar. We do need to get the star name that as well. So let's go ahead and do that before I forget. There we go. Excellent. So we'll see that we're getting those observations now. Remember, we have the choice between collecting insights, favoring insights, or favoring the mission. And that, of course, is from our observation post here. So we can now do diplomacy with them. They have a low awareness. You know, they're ignorant of us. They're in the industrial age at the moment. We can also do that espionage, but we want to keep our one available envoy for other things. And the reason why we only have one envoy is because that's one of the changes in the mod. When you're militarist, you only start with the one envoy, so that's a bit limiting. So we did get our second planet established. And unfortunately, another thing we're limited on at the moment is minerals. So we're going to need to purchase some. We'll go ahead. What are we getting more of? We're getting more consumer goods. We'll sell another 500 consumer goods so that we can purchase some minerals. We'll just get the 500 for now, so we can get something started over here. And I think we should start with the medical center to increase growth. Will also get us more of those amenities. We could also set up a specialization here. Remember, those are important because they give you the jobs per city district. They're also very expensive when it comes to minerals, as you can see. So one thing to consider. We need to get more of that fleet built out, so we'll continue to reinforce them. Also, Crimson Feather, our leader, now has reached level 4, so we can select his veteran class. And we'll have him focused on the council, so we're going to go with the strategist. That's going to increase the military ship build speed. We also got our first contact event. Alright, interesting. So let's go ahead and send our envoy, start working on that. And we also have our construction ship who has expanded over here, so we need to get the energy in that location. We got an interesting event about Iron Wing. She has become a trendsetter among the general population. Everything from her style to her method of speech has attracted a sizable following. Her reach extends across all socio-economic strata, but she has proven particularly popular among the youth. We have no reason not to support this. So this is going to increase our Unity and our amenities from jobs for 5 years. So that'd be really helpful because Unity is kind of low at the moment. Not doing as good as I would like. So this is where that Fallen Empire is located. So we could start moving towards them, but first, let's go take care of that location since it looks like it's an ending spot. I do have the hyperlane connections turned as low as possible at 0.5. I like the way the galaxy is developed when you have that setting on. I like how it creates a lot of different choke points. So we've got our first factions, guys. Might need to eventually get another construction ship. We're going to go ahead and build one out here just to lock down that location. And then I suppose we might move over to here, or we'll get that other construction ship going. And we might just have to purchase alloys so we can continue our expansion. We've already got this colony being set up, so they should be on their way over there soon. And we got an event about the mysterious moon of Velkarin. Now that Velkarin has been settled for a while, some data irregularities have been noticed. Specifically, its moon does not seem to be made of remotely similar material to Velkarin. This suggests it was not formed at the same time, but rather originally formed elsewhere and somehow was captured by the gravity of the planet at a later date. Quite where it came from is currently a mystery, so we can investigate that. And Iron Wing, despite being on the council, I think we want her to focus on being an admiral since she's currently leading our fleets, and so we want to get that increased ship weapon damage and fire rate and more combat disengagement chance as well, and making up for that one penalty that she currently has. So yeah, if we built another city district here, because of the mixed industry, that would get more metallers. That would get more jobs that would produce alloys for us. And our construction ship over here, let's get them doing that mining station. Yeah, clearly we need more alloys. And I still think it was good that we changed away from the militarized economy, because otherwise consumer goods would eventually be an issue. And I love that we're stacking that up. Okay, again, as we get more population, that's going to become more and more of an issue. I guess since we're over here, we'll go ahead and seize this location. We got plenty of Unity, so you know what, guys? Let's get another construction ship so they can start expanding over this way. So we did finish with this first contact, and this is the curator order. Okay, so I got a bit of influence from that. We also got our next tradition, which I think we should go with the Starbase influence cost. And you know what? If we haven't already set this up, we have not. Let's go ahead and stop to get our influence back, and then do it again. So it'll be cheaper and it'll save us a bit of influence there. So we're going to add a bunch more of these. Probably get it up to 20. Yeah, we'll get it up to 20. Obviously, don't have the alloys to build all those, but we'll get them eventually. Let's go ahead and sell some of this food. Energy is starting to get a bit lower, so I'm hesitant to sell that. So we'll just sell the consumer goods for now, and then buy whatever we can when it comes to the alloys. And then we'll reinforce with, what's that, like one ship. We just got that next council agenda done. Excellent, so that's a very nice boost to the monthly Unity. And as for the next one, I think we're going to go ahead and expand the council. Unlock another counselor slot, guys. So I think we're going to take advantage of this period of high Unity So go ahead and get another science ship once we have the alloys for that. And we just keep having to sell all of our stuff here. So selling the food and the consumer goods in order to get the alloys and the minerals. I've had issues with the minerals as well. I suppose we'll get on next tradition, probably going to be in the expansion one. And I think we're going to want to get this colony development speed, and also it gives you an urban district when establishing a colony, so you just start with one. So that will be nice to have. Our construction ship has finished over here, but we won't be able to use the alloys to get anything else just yet, because like I said, I do want to get that science ship started. And we're going to hire Yellow Eyes. I've already changed his name. They all have the resilient trait, so really all that matters here is their age. I guess you could go off of the ethics, but really the age is what matters here. We're just going to get the youngest characters so that they'll live the longest, and then get them. Well, first what we'll do is we'll research that project, and then we're going to have them go this way, because I want to see what's over yonder.
Construction complete.
So our construction ships are somewhat limited here because of the lack of materials, both the minerals and the alloys, and Goldfeather. So she has gotten her veteran level, and we could go with really almost any of these, but because she's the head of research, we'll have her get the 5% research speed. Makes sense. That'll help us out quite a bit. Yeah, this construction ship can actually start grabbing one of these locations up. I suppose we'll go after that one. Yeah, I think it's the best one at the moment. So it's 90 alloys for each one of those, and then also we've got a science ship. She has finished scanning this location. This is where the curator order is, so we would like to grab that. Plus this is a fallen empire, so they're not going to expand here. That also means that we can't go through their space to go to these locations, and this is a dead end. So basically, that's the end of this route. So we'll scan those two locations, and then we'll go ahead and try and get them all into our empire, and then we're just going to be focusing on moving up the galactic north, if you will. I'm going to say that a lot, like north, south, west. I'll try and say galactic beforehand, since obviously, and we won't really look at this here, guys. This is an old event we've seen in past series, but obviously there is no north or south. But yeah, it's just easy to say that. You could say the top of the map as well. So Yellow Eyes is going to go to this location. Again, we'll work on anomalies later. Some of them can be pretty good. And so eventually we do want to have one of our scientists, whoever's best with the anomalies, cleaning these up. Well, it's easier to do them all at the same time, so you gotta have somebody higher level to get those done quickly. And just the higher level they are, the faster they'll do all of them. Yeah, they'll get you more resources and stuff, so they're important. But I feel like it's more important to get as much scanned as you can so you know which way you want to expand. Can we get this? We can. Got enough alloys for that. But using all the alloys for expansion here, that does mean that we're not building out our fleet. Currently have the 13 ships of the 20 that we're attempting to get. Alright guys, so we have the next invasion, and as they did warn us, it is quite a bit more powerful at 1.1 thousand, almost 1.2 thousand. Got it on the slowest speed here, so we can really have a look at this battle. Maybe we'll speed it up just a little bit. I feel like when you go on normal speed, it just gets so hectic you can't tell what the hell's going on. Yeah, when you got it slowed down, you get to see slow motion fight. Got all those guns firing off of the Citadel. But yeah, we want to make sure we take a look at the end of this battle here, and our fleet has already been defeated. But they did help out, so that's what we want to see. We need to get something selected here. We got the hot roast speed. Probably want to go after... Could do the fleet command limits. That would be helpful. Could also get the additional food for the farmers. We're doing alright on food. With the continental planets, food is not going to be a major issue. But they should be able to take care of the rest of this fleet on their own, but this was a more difficult fight. So So looking at the stats of the battle, we did lose 7 of our corvettes while only destroying 1 juvenile mauler. I still feel like it was important to have him here to help out and also get some experience for Iron Wing. But taking a look at the damage to the hull and the armor, no damage to shields. Now I don't know if that's because they didn't have any shields. I assume so, because yeah, you'd have to damage those. Yeah, I don't think they have any shields, guys, which is what I was expecting from these particular ship types. That means you don't actually need the missiles at all. You could just focus on the red lasers. And this is how much damage they're doing. They have like mandibles and bioplasma throwers. So weapons you'd expect on biological ships instead. They're very effective overall. That did not go well for us. But the Citadel should be able to take them out. You see it doesn't have any armor remaining. It does have a lot of shields, but yeah, they've done a very good job taking out the armor. They're also taking out the hull points, but it has a ton of hull points. And this is an interesting situation here. Unsteady ground. Our colony on Crestaria, which that's the name of our 4th planet, our 3rd colony, has encountered an odd situation. We have apparently settled on the back of a gigantium amphibian reptile whose bony shell is formed of various exotic minerals. Most of what we thought were local islands have turned out to be these creatures. Our colonists have begun to refer to them as Nemas. They seem harmless enough, and as long as we don't dig too deep into their shell, they should barely notice us. So that's going to begin this new event chain, and it's moving islands, reducing the housing, but increasing the society research. Okay, so clearly Crestaria should probably focus on research. So I've already got them a medical center here. I've been getting stuff constructed slowly on our planets. We've got a mining district over here on Valkaran, Talakar. It's getting a generated district since we need a bit more energy, and making sure we get those medical centers in all of them as well, really focusing on the growth. Alright, we can go and turn this back up. We have gotten our victory here. We'll take a look at the stats for the fleet combats in the Starlit Citadel. But you see they do not have any shields, guys. So I'm glad I made that adjustment to our ships, because we do not need anything that damages the shields, so we don't really need the missiles either. Now those do not have the penalty to other types of damage. They just bypass the shields, but honestly the lasers is what would be best to have, is just 3 lasers on our ships. But the other thing to consider is we might have to fight somebody else out there, but really that's our main threat, guys. And so we should also probably redesign the actual Citadel, and I think it would do much better in combat if we did. So this is the design for our Defender class Deep Space Citadel, so the first level. I've replaced most of the flak batteries with the Sentinel point defense, since those are good against the armor. They have 25% armor penetration and 100% armor damage. We're keeping some of the flak batteries because those are actually better against the strike craft. I don't know if we're facing any of those. We need to pay a little bit better attention to some of the things we're facing. I don't think they have any of those just yet. But we mostly have the point defense, and then we have replaced the mass drivers with the red lasers for our large slots. We still have those scout wings. We're not going to get the reactor booster. I just don't think it's worth it. It doesn't do much here, guys. Look at the damage. It barely changes the damage. So I don't think it's worth the 5 alloys. Nothing else to change here except for this component slot. So we're currently getting the focus fire effect plus 50%. However, you might want to adjust this based on the damage that they're primarily doing, which I'd assume is maybe kinetic. It might be something else though. I would think it'd be kinetic damage, so we'll have to take a look at that, because if we could reduce their damage by 25%, that would be significant as well, though this might be helping us a lot. I'm not entirely sure. So let's go and save that. So you can see the difference of these two designs. They actually did have 4 shields and 4 armor, so that's the same. We're just not using the reactor booster. Now technically our version does less damage, but what really matters here is the bonuses. We've gotten rid of those mass drivers, which again, they do more damage overall, but it's to the shields. They're not as good against the armor. So those lasers are going to do a lot better. The point defense is going to do a lot better as well. And overall, I think we'll see that our Citadel should fare much better. But of course, we need to actually change the starbase design, and we don't have the alloys for that. Of course we don't. So that's okay. We'll change it here soon. Now that we're 20 years into the game, we had our first election. Since we do have an election every 20 years, and Crimson Feather was re-elected, so he's very popular. Now we're not getting a tradition here because remember we need a lot of unity in order to change up the construction of our citadel. We're just short of a bit of the alloys. You need a lot of that as well. It's really unfortunate that we have to spend so much. I'd love to just upgrade it to level 2. However, we don't have the crystals for that. And in fact, this takes even more unity and even more alloys. Very, very expensive to get to the level 2. We just have to keep saving until we get a bit more alloys. That's the reason why we're not doing any construction anywhere. Also, I finally have one of our scientists working on the anomalies. I've sent Goldfeather to do that. They've already gotten a couple done here, get us some additional research, and then we also have some projects here now that we can work on. So we'll go ahead and have Goldfeather take care of those for us. So we finally have the alloys to get this changed up. We'll only have to do this once since it's changing the design. That's the expense, changing over to the Defender class. And that's the reason why it's so expensive. We're changing that class up. When we upgrade it, it won't cost as much. I did just finish up a first contact here. We're advancing it. And we discovered a new archaeological dig site. Yeah, just getting the planets built up. So getting some additional stuff here. Got administrative offices and some research labs on our capital. Lacking in minerals, so it's been a bit difficult to regularly build stuff, particularly getting the new specializations since those are so expensive. So I've been saving up minerals to get that done. We also just finished up our council agenda, so we're going to launch that. That's going to unlock a new counselor slot. So because we have all 3 of our civics already, we'll have 3 different options here. The Hyperlane Supervisor wouldn't give us any benefits just yet. The Leader Experience gain, that's always helpful. However, I think we're going to go with the Lord High Admiral. We don't really need the naval capacity because we're nowhere near our current naval capacity, but the ship starting experience plus 50 for each skill level, that would be helpful. So let's go ahead and appoint a Lord High Admiral. I think we're going to hire this character down here. They're 37 years old and he's adaptable, so he'll get the increased leader experience gain. Also, he has a trait, and given that they're on the council, and he's not actually leading a fleet at the moment, we should probably focus on counselor effects. So we could get the increased happiness, or could get the ship weapons damage and sunlight speed. I think that's what we'll go for, the skirmisher. And we're also going to rename this character. They'll be Lord High Admiral Greatclaw. So we already made 21 years. And I didn't select a new agenda, so we do want to take care of that. We also finish up this special project here. I'll let you guys read that one if you want. Pretty sure we've already seen this in past campaigns. The specimens, that's something that's not new to this expansion, but we'll take a look at it because it is from the previous expansion, which we didn't play on the channel. We're going to get the Chart the Unknown for that increased survey speed and anomaly discovery chance. That'll be pretty helpful, though not as much stuff to scan. I don't know why this thing is blinking. I think it's from discovering the toxic world. I've seen this happen before and it just doesn't stop. I think it's a bug. Once you discover one, it tells you that it's a candidate for terraforming and it just keeps on blinking. And I've tried looking in the situation log to see if we can turn it off, but that's not the case. It won't let you. And it's happened before, so I do feel like it's probably a bug that needs to be adjusted. So we have found quite a few of these. We have 4 thus far. And we can't actually make use of them yet because we don't have the Grand Archive. But basically, once you do, you'll put these on display and then you'll get the effects that are listed here, but they do have an upkeep cost, which is affected by your empire size, which gets more expensive. Some of them don't really feel like they're worth the actual cost to make use of them unless you're just sitting on a ton of energy. Again, we haven't constructed that Grand Archive, though we do have the ability to. We had an event to pop up that said, if we wanted it, we'd have to spend 1,000 energy to get access to the technology, which I did do. That's the reason why our energy is so much lower, actually, because I invested in that. I wasn't sure if I wanted to claim this system because there's nothing in here outside of that toxic world, which you'd have to terraform to make it useful. And this location here, which looks fantastic, has already been claimed, guys. There's another civilization there. But This location here has an archaeological site that you might want to get access to, and it will allow us to try and expand this way. I don't know that anybody has made claims here yet, so I think we will go ahead and grab this location. So we'll build the next starbase over there, since we do have a bit of alloys to take care of that. So earlier in the episode we had that event about the moon that orbits Valkyrin, and I did get that research. It required us to use society research for quite a long time to get it done. We now have the next event here for it. So the mysteries of the moon have been revealed. A detailed survey reveals that it is slightly lopsided, with the far side of the moon having a disproportionately large share of the total mass. The reason for this, we believe, is that the moon once orbited another planet which was destroyed in a cataclysmic explosion. The extra thickness on the far side of the moon is because that was the side that faced its original planet. The extra material is part of the mass of that planet, which is blown into the moon, knocking it out of orbit and sending it eventually into the orbit of Valkyrin. We speculate that the planet was destroyed by weapons, or perhaps just an attempt to create a power source based on dark matter, as there are high concentrations of it in the planetary material coating the far side of the moon. So this gets us some engineering research. Also, we get a research option for the dark matter drawing, and it's going to add some dark matter to the location. Alright, fantastic. So we'll want to eventually get that research so we can start actually collecting the dark matter. So we finally have enough minerals to select our first specialization. I think we should do it on Valkyrin, since they have the highest population outside of course, our empire capital. And we really need more unity. We also need consumer goods and alloys and energy. So I mean, there's a lot of things we need. But I think we're going to have an administrative hub location here, focusing on those bureaucratic jobs so we can get the unity. So we're going to get that constructed. And then I'm not sure we'll do here in Telecar just yet. Maybe this will be like a military location or something, or have a focus on industry. That'd be a choice as well. Yeah, maybe we'll do industry here. And then I think this would be a good location for the research, since we're already getting a 15% bonus for society research. So I think their specialization will be on research. We can actually go ahead and pause here because I wanted to get to the end of that last year. We're now in 2222, so 22 years into the game. Just for reference, the first episode of our last Stellaris series, we only made 12 years. So certainly making a lot more progress in this series with the current format. So this is how far we've expanded thus far. And we're doing alright, guys. Not going too bad. Of course, these attacks are getting more powerful, so we really need to try and build up our fleet a bit, and maybe also construct some defenses here. Still waiting for this to get done. Hopefully it'll be completed before the next wave, since I think that would result in the Citadel doing significantly better, given that it's focusing on doing damage to the armor rather than the shields. I do hope you enjoyed this first episode. If you did, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. If you're looking for anything to watch while you wait for the next episode, check out the front page of our channel. Got a ton of videos all sorted by genre, so you should be able to find something that you enjoy. Looking for any links, check out the description of any of our videos. Find links to our PayPal, Patreon, and Teespring store if you'd like to help support the channel. You also find a link to our Discord if you'd like to join our community. And finally, you found links to all our social media if you'd like to follow us on those. So I do hope to see you guys on another episode, and thanks for watching.